What's up, YouTube? Silver Dragons here, and in this video, I'm very excited to be interviewing Rana Vig. He is the founder and CEO of Blue Lagoon Resources. Rana, thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so it's a great time to be doing an interview as well with everything going on in the world. I know you guys are in the mining space. So I wanted to first start talking about gold, and then we can get into your company and whatnot. So recently, the Federal Reserve has made very serious announcements that have to do with inflation and how they would target it over time. Jerome Powell has even warned about the dangers of low inflationary expectations. Gold is already trading at all-time highs. What do you think is next for the metal?
Well, I think that these are very exciting times for the metal, right? I mean, it can only go up from here. I mean, if you look at what's happening around the world, I mean, we knew for years government spending was completely out of control, not only in North America but all over the world. And now with this unprecedented amount of printing of the money, which the gold environment loves. But add to it the mix of COVID. I mean, who could have predicted this? I mean, it is just the most unprecedented time ever, and that's the environment that gold loves. So I just cannot see any scenario where gold cannot go up higher. And hey, listen, I'm no expert by any stretch of the imagination. I don't need to say it. We got credible organizations like Bank of America saying it, that they just revised their estimate to $3,000 gold next year. So I think that it's got nowhere but up to go.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. Everything is sort of setting up gold for another great run up here. We now have negative interest rates in the USA if you look at inflation and the interest rates basically being zero. But the average person isn't aware of this yet. What could happen when an entire generation of baby boomers realizes their cash is toxic just as they're retiring in droves?
Yeah, well, I think there's a huge shock, coming if anyone's, got their head buried in the sand and hasn't seen, what's happening. Look, economic policy these things aren't not that as complex as they seem. The average person, I know we talk sometimes, amongst friends, and people are kind of confused about, they seem that it's very confusing. Really, if you go back to, when I was growing up in the 70s, I remember, my dad is a civil engineer by profession. He's retired now, but you know what? He earned about $45,000 a year at the time. The first house we bought at the time was about $45,000. Today, that same engineer at that starting job makes about $85,000. But you know what? That house is $1.5 million. So I mean, it's not rocket science to see that the value of the dollar every day has been decreasing. And when these baby boomers, the more they start realizing it, the more they start to say, look, we've got to do something to protect our cash. And especially, when you hear someone like Warren Buffett starting to enter the gold market, I mean, I think that's just gonna drive this whole momentum where these people are gonna say, look, we've got to do something here, because as we retire, the value of the currency is going to get less and less, and we've got to protect it. And of course, we know the best way to really protect it is to get into precious metals. And not only that, but I think that more and more, they're going to be looking at equities, because of course you can own the physical metal, and everyone should. But then there's the whole side of the equities, where if of course, because you get much higher multiple, of that. So I think that that people, as they start to see more and more of these stories in the news, and we see more destabilization of what's happening around the world, not only with just the printing of the money at unprecedented rates, but add to it the mix of COVID. I think people are going to start to take a very, very serious look, and it's quite concerning to see, how can we protect, our hard-earned dollars.
Right. And some of the predictions I've seen for US debt, I know a lot of the countries are printing money like it's going out of style. all these fiat currencies are getting inflated, but here in the United States, they're looking at a national debt, some predictions up to $80 trillion by 2028. Yeah, that's an astounding number. I think we're at like 26 trillion right now, but I mean, we've already gone up quite a bit just in the last few months. So if we can steer over towards silver, because wow, silver's had an amazing 6-month move, with July being the best month since the Hunt brothers. So do you think it's possible we see a new nominal all-time high in silver?
Oh, 100%. I believe that. And look, let me tell you one of the reasons why I fundamentally believe that silver has a lot of upside potential right now. And that's because, it's always been known, as the sort of the poor man's gold, right? I mean, silver, of course, is used in industrial applications. I think it's like over 50% of it is used in industrial applications, and you got about 20% of it being used, I believe, in jewelry, et cetera. But only about 20% right now is really on the investment side. So as more and more people, start to look at, what do they do? What do they, how do they get involved in the markets? And if gold is too much for them and they can't, put enough into that, silver is the next best thing, which, completely makes sense. And, especially countries like, India, for example, that has a huge consumer base, right? The second most populous nation in the world, really, really fundamentally, culturally believes in precious metals. I mean, villages will get together just to own a little bit of gold, and if they can't own gold, they go to silver. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity here that as people start to once again realize that they've got to get into the precious metals somehow in order to preserve what they have. Silver just is the natural next choice, which is going to drive the price even higher.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking at gold and saying, wow, gold's already at all-time highs, silver's at half of its all-time high, so it must have lots of potential. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you there. So if we could talk about Blue Lagoon Resources, because I know you are the founder. Can you tell us a little bit about the company and what you guys do?
Yeah, so I founded Blue Lagoon Resources, started the company about a year and a half ago, really when nobody was talking much about mining. Mining has been quite in the dumps there for the last about 10 years, right? But I saw that while I was reading everything, sort of the macro picture, I had this inkling that mining's got to come back at some point. It's been on a downturn for the last a little more than 10 years, and particularly gold, as I was reading on the sort of the macro picture was happening around the world. So I decided to jump in and put this company together. We started trading just a little over a year ago on July 4th, actually, of 2019 was our first trading day, and got very, very focused and started to acquire projects. We made 3 acquisitions in 10 months, so very, very focused and starting to build a portfolio. And then last October, a very interesting project kind of fell in my lap. Called the Dome Mountain gold mine up in northern British Columbia, and I was kind of intrigued at it. I wasn't super bullish, to be honest with you, in the beginning when I looked at it, because I'm a pretty a conservative guy. I just wasn't jumping up and down because I've seen many of these stories. We were looking in Brazil, we were looking in Colombia. But this the more I kind of looked at it, the more it kept coming back in front of me. It just made a lot of sense from a business point of view, because what I'd learned was these people had put this project together and basically took it to the 1-yard line and couldn't get it to the end because they got frankly too old. They're 83 years old now and not in the best of health. So I saw that as a tremendous opportunity. So we went to work to acquire it, and that's has become our main portfolio now. A fully permitted gold mine that we're rapidly trying to move to production with all sorts of other exploration opportunities that we can talk about a little later.
Well, since you bring up Dome Mountain, I know it has 85,000 ounces of gold mineable under the current lifetime of the mine. So what do you like most about Dome Mountain?
Well, yeah, that's one of the aspects of it is that, already we have a mine plan that shows us that we can get 85,000 ounces over the next, dozen years. But that just scratches, the surface. What I like about this project are, a number of things, right? It's proximity. It's only about a 50-minute drive from a town of Smithers, British Columbia, which is a mining town, about 20,000 people. You can drive right to the mine site, all year round. That's a huge deal in the mining business because often what happens is companies have to spend just loads and loads of money on flying in because many of these properties are often remote. So you got to fly in with helicopters, you got to put up expensive camps. We don't have any of that. We can have our workers drive to the mine site every day, 45, 50 minutes, come home, have dinner, with their family and kiss their kids good night and get back to work the next day. So I mean, it's just an incredible opportunity from that perspective. And then of course, then it's already permitted. It takes years and years to get these things permitted and millions of dollars. Well, we've already got that. That's already done here. And then there's beyond just the mine itself. The property is vast, right? It's almost 12,000 hectares. And 90% of it, believe it or not, has never been explored. And people in the industry look at that often and say, wow, that's amazing that you have 15 already known very high grade veins surrounding this mine, but none beyond that small little area. 90% of that property has never been explored, and the reason really is because this was a private company. It was a private company, and had over 1,200 shareholders, which is also something that's kind of unheard of. And this. Their philosophy basically was to get this thing into production and just pay dividends, which is very, very typical and common of a private company, and it made sense. But unfortunately, through a series of unfortunate circumstances for them, they just weren't able to get there. And in the meantime, as I said earlier, they kind of ran out of time, and age caught up to them, and now they're 83 years old and not in the best of health. So there's a lot of very, very positive and solid things going on with this project, that millions and millions of dollars that have been spent on it, and along we come here at the tail end to execute on getting it into production and exploring the rest of the property and capture the upside for our shareholders.
So we've talked about gold and how much gold is available and whatnot. What about silver? Because I know a lot of people are into silver, and when you're mining for gold, silver is typically a byproduct. So do you guys have lots of silver available too, I'm assuming?
Yeah, hey, great question. My team keeps telling me, hey, you keep forgetting to talk about the silver. I'm so focused on gold, but yes. So currently, at our main mine site, for every 1 ounce of gold that we have 4 ounces of silver. So currently, we have 250,000 ounces of gold, and we got 1 million ounces of silver. And the beauty is, as we look at our economics, all of our economics really are based on the gold, right? I mean, we figure we have 85,000 mineable ounces currently, over the next 12 years of gold, and what that is going to generate, right? Because our cost of production is less than $1,000 an ounce. And really, what that means is, the silver is for free, right? So I mean, at the numbers that silver is getting at currently, and where we think it's going to go, we think it has a much higher upside. We're getting very excited about the known silver currently that's on the property, but also on all that area that hasn't yet been explored, and all those veins that we have that we know are associated, with silver. So yeah, we've got lots of silver and tremendous upside available on that side as well.
Yeah, it seems like lots of potential there, so that's great. Lastly, I want to bring it back to Blue Lagoon Resources. Does the company have any debt? And also, are there any shareholders that are big mining tycoons?
Yeah, so the company has no debt. We just raised, we're fully capitalized. We just closed a $7.5 million a private placement, which really kind of surprised the industry. It's we raised that very, very quickly, so we're fully capitalized. We're treasury is full to execute on our plan, and we've got no debt. So which is fantastic. We're in a great position. We also have a number of warrants that are already in the money. So that's another roughly $5 million that will come in at some stage as we build the company, and the share price hopefully will reflect on our execution plan. And on your second part of your question, we don't have this is a very, very, very under the radar company. We haven't really, this is one of my first interviews. We haven't spoken about this company much at all. We do have a very significant shareholder, a gentleman who founded Canaccord Capital, Peter Brown, and Canaccord, I'm not sure if you know, but Canaccord is one of the biggest independent brokerage houses in North America, one of the most respected. He founded that. Peter Brown has funded more mining companies probably than anyone in Canadian history. I mean, he's retired now. He's 80 years old, and he heard about Blue Lagoon about a week before we decided to do this placement, and he immediately called one of my directors who used to be his CFO at Canaccord and said, "Hey, I took a look at this. I like it, and I'm in." So, but beyond that, to be honest with you, we haven't actually reached out to anybody, and we're just starting to do that now, and we expect that many will follow once they start to understand what we have our hands on.
Yes, I'm sure they will. Well, I'm very honored to have been one of your first interviews. Thank you so much for sharing information about Blue Lagoon Resources, but also your thoughts on gold and silver. So we really appreciate the time, and we'll hope to follow up with an interview at a later date. So thank you so much, Rana Vig.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for watching my video. I sincerely appreciate it. If you want to learn more about investing in precious metals, or if you just want to watch awesome videos about gold and silver, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Silver Dragons out.